guys, my name is Bobby and welcome back to my channel, and today I'm doing my September wrap-up. I apologize kind of for the switching of where I'm filming. Normally I film back there in the corner in front of my bookshelf, but I live in a state that in the US that is really cloudy and rainy during the fall and winter months and I only use natural light, so I'm not using my overhead light in this room because it would be terrible. And I noticed my last video I looked a little dark, so I figure if I open my window really wide and film literally in front of my window, it'd be better for the lighting. So that's why I'm here. I apologize for my messy room and my cats, which are, one's right up here to my right of the camera and my other one's right behind me on the bed. So hopefully they don't knock anything over. But let's just get into the wrap up. This month, or September, which ended yesterday, today's October 1st, I read 5 books, which isn't very much, but because of the first book that I finished this month, I slumped hard the rest of the month. Nothing sounded good. Everything I picked up just wasn't good enough. So it's just really, really hard when you slump, and I do that from time to time because I'm such a strict DNFer, and if a book is really, really good, I tend to slump off and on quite a bit. Some months I read 10 books, some months I read 4. This month it was 5. This month I read 5 books. So the first book that I read in the month of September, I'm going to move over a little bit because I need to put the picture right here, is Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. I do not have my own copy of this book. I read my mom's copy and I've since returned it to her, and her copy was printed in 1961, I think. I'm going to try to find the cover of the edition she has to put right here. There's not much you can really say about Gone with the Wind. I gave it 5 stars. I buddy read Gone with the Wind with Vicky from chapter 32. I will link her review of her experience with Gone with the Wind down below. I was going to do my own review video on it, but I figured I would just do it with my wrap up considering I only read 5 books, so this isn't going to be a super long video, but it probably will be because I can never shut up, and I'm like, ooh, this is going to be short, and it's 25 minutes long. But yeah, Gone with the Wind. I loved this book 100 million %. It was one of the best books I've ever read. I don't read classics very often, and Gone with the Wind is like an American classic, and it was so good. I thought I was going to be bored, and honestly I think the buddy read with Vicky really helped me get through this because it's so daunting. My copy was 1,037 pages, and that is a huge book to read, and so that's why we started July 1st. We started reading July 1st and we finished in the very beginning of September, and we only read 2 chapters to 3 chapters a day and then would discuss it through Goodreads. And I think that really helped us both get through it because we both wanted to read it, and it was really helpful to have that, to have that extra person just to bounce stuff off of and to power each other through it, because both her and I are married with kids, and so it makes it really difficult sometimes to find the time to read, and so having that buddy read with such a mammoth book was a huge help. But I have not watched the movie in 15 years. I know. My mom really wants me to watch the movie. From what I remember, I didn't like the movie. I found it to be boring, and Vicky watched the movie after reading the book, and she said the book is definitely better, and I would agree, because just small stuff, in the book, Scarlett has 3 children. In the movie, they only have the 1, and that really bothered me because it was important. The other 2 children, granted, they weren't a major part of the story, but they were important to Scarlett's story and her progression and how shitty of a mother Scarlett is. Speaking of Scarlett, I can't stand her. Cannot stand her. I wanted her to either wake the hell up or die, because she just, for all the gumption that character has for the time period, the 1860s, with how much gumption she has and how forward thinking she is with being a woman and wanting to take care of herself and take care of her family, she's the biggest moron on the planet. She's downright stupid. Stupid. When God was handing out brains, he forgot to give one to Scarlett. She's just stupid. Rhett was in love with her from day 1, literally chapter 3 or 4. We all know it. The readers all know it. It's not hard to figure out. Scarlett doesn't figure it out until, I don't know, second to last page. And that really frustrated me. And I just could not stand her. I mean, she was stupid. I mean, I love her as how forward thinking she was. I love that part of her character. It was very nice to see, especially since this book was written in the 30s, to see a female author write a very empowered female character like that without forcing her into the constraints of the time like everybody else around her was. But Rhett Butler, oh my god. Like, I will divorce my husband for Rhett Butler. He is the most well-written male character I have ever read. Like, he just, especially for that time period, like, he just does not give a fuck about anything or anyone except for himself, and he doesn't care what anybody thinks. And his love for Scarlett is so pure, and she's so stupid to not see it. It just drove me nuts. It was one of the things that totally drove me nuts. But overall, it was an amazing experience. I loved the story. I loved how raw it was when they talked about the Civil War. Like, when I learned about the Civil War in high school, it was very much, you know, the South is bad, the Confederates were wrong, and all this, and bad slavery. And slavery is bad, but reading this book, the author did a fantastic job. I felt sorry for the Confederates. Like, I almost wanted to change sides. And I never thought I would ever feel that way, because the way she portrays like Scarlet slaves and like the other families that are around her in the South in her little area, the way she portrays how the slaves were treated are not what you learn in school. It's like these particular families took care of them really well. A lot of them lived in the house with them. They were, you know, part of the family. Like, and you know, a couple of the slaves that were there with Scarlet didn't leave when they were free. They decided to stay with them because that's their family. They said, I would never leave you. And I love authors who challenge your thinking like that. Like, thinking that is so ingrained into your head from a very young age, and they challenge you to question it. And to me, that was just amazing, because I've never had that happen before, especially on something such a hot button issue as slavery. But I did feel bad for the Confederates as the story went on and during the Reconstruction period after the war was over, because they literally had everything ripped from them. Everything. Property, houses, like a lot of their houses were burned to the ground. They were all starting over again. Most of them, their husbands and brothers were all dead. Like, there wasn't many left. So a lot of the women were trying to pick up the slack, and that was frowned upon. So the Reconstruction period part of the Civil War that they portrayed was so incredibly intense. And to me, that was probably the most, I learned the most during that section. To me, I learned the most during that section of the book, during the Reconstruction. Because it was so, it was so brutal, and like the way the South was treated, and like, you know, that everything was just ripped from them, and the descriptions were so good that you felt like you were right there with them, and it was just so atmospheric in that way. But anyways, I've talked enough about Gone with the Wind. Like, everybody knows what it's about. They've either watched the movie, read the book. If you want to read the book and you haven't, I encourage that you do. I believe it's better than the movie. And if you are going to read it and you feel the size is daunting, try doing a buddy read with somebody else who wants to read it, because it makes it so much easier to read when you've got somebody else to bounce your ideas off of. But Gone with the Wind, 5 stars, amazing. Rhett Butler, hit me up if you're ever in the neighborhood. So the second book I read in September was God's Grave by Jay Kristoff. I read this with a big, giant group buddy read that was ran by Julie over at Pages and Pens on her Twitter. And there was a whole group of us, like she had a page breakdown and the whole 9 yards. She tends to do like group buddy reads a lot, so if you want to, you should check out her channel. But this, we decided to read because we read Nevernight the month before, or 2 months before, the month before, in August. So, you know, we immediately wanted to go in and reading God's Grave because so many of us loved Nevernight that we wanted to hurry up and read God's Grave. And unfortunately, Dark Dawn, the third book and the final book in the trilogy, was supposed to be out in September, but Jay Kristoff pushed it back until next September because he wanted to make sure it was perfect, and he had all this other stuff going on and blah, blah, blah. So we have to wait another year for book 3. But this book I gave 3 stars, 4 stars. It's like 3.5, 4 stars. I didn't give it, I think it was 4. I didn't give it 5 stars like I gave Nevernight because I didn't like it as much, and let me tell you why. God's Grave takes place like pretty near immediate after Nevernight, and it's so different from Nevernight. Like, you follow Mia. Like, I can't say too much because of spoilers from the first book, but you follow Mia, and she is now a full-blown assassin and all that, and she's running around and killing people like she's supposed to, but then she's got this other mission that was part of book 1 that she still hasn't fulfilled. Like, she wants to make the people who killed her, or are responsible for her parents' death, pay. So the big majority of this book, it totally differs from where Nevernight was. Nevernight was the assassin school and the Red Church and all that, and watching Mia progress and go through the assassin school, become an assassin, and meet new people and kind of make friends and enemies and all that. So you kind of got to see the build. This kind of suffered from a sophomore slump, and I'm going to set it down because now. It kind of suffered from a sophomore slump in the respect that it's almost like Jay Kristoff didn't want to do a duology because there was too much to put in a duology, so he had to split it into a trilogy. So he put a little bit of the good stuff in this one, but a lot of it was just kind of filler to like step from book 1 to book 3. And like the majority of the book, Mia is in, is hiding, not hiding, but she has disguised herself or gone undercover as a slave to fight in these like gladiator-like arenas, and that is like the majority of this book. There's other characters that from the first book that move in and out and have side stuff going on and are interwoven into her story, but I can't talk about it because of spoilers. But she, you don't get the same, there wasn't the same grittiness as there was in the first one, because in the first one you were so concerned with her getting through and her learning and like, is she going to do it, is she going to do it? This one is more like, okay, like when are we going to get back to the bulk of the story? Like, you know, the way the last one ended, like when are we going to get there? And we never really did. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was fun, and I love Jay Kristoff's writing. His writing is so beautiful, but God's Grave was just not as good to me as Nevernight. Wasn't terrible. I gave it 4 stars. I still enjoyed it immensely, but I did not zip through it like I did Nevernight. I actually, like, towards the end of the buddy read, I stopped reading. Like, I didn't follow the buddy read completely, and then I ended up finishing it, like, I think 4 or 5 days after the buddy read was actually over, because I was not so invested and had to read it like I was with Nevernight. And so I just gave myself a break and came back and finished it. And it finished on a really amazing note, of course. It's a total setup for book 3, which we now have to wait a year for. But I will pretty much now read whatever Jay Kristoff puts out. I have not read Lifelike yet, because I just love his writing. But God's Grave is 4 stars. I am now officially on the Mia Corvier, like, Nevernight, you know, fan bandwagon. I've hopped on the caboose, but I'm officially on it. The third book I read in the month of September is called The Swing of Things by Linda Keir. This book was not what I expected it to be. This book is about a couple, Linda and Eric. Linda, I think. Eric's the husband. No, Jane, excuse me. Jane and Eric, not Linda. Linda is the name of the author. Wow. Jane and Eric. And they're kind of in a rut in their marriage. Like, he's a stay-at-home dad. She's a corporate lawyer, I believe. I believe she's a lawyer. Yes. And she's a corporate lawyer, so she makes all the money. And he has, like, a band on the side that he does for fun and all that. But he's a stay-at-home dad for their 5-year-old, 6-year-old daughter, Sophia. And they're kind of in a rut in their marriage. Like, Wednesday night is date night. Wednesday night's the night they have sex. Like, and it's all very boring and scheduled and all that. And they're kind of in a really big rut. But they meet this couple who is who are parents of one of their daughter's classmates, and they kind of get in with this group of parents of all the kids, all the parents of the kids from this, like, you know, 6-year-old first grade class, and named Theo and Mia. And Theo and Mia invite them over to their house for like this, you know, get together potluck at the very beginning of the school year, and all that. So they go, and then most of the people leave, but Jane and Eric are asked to stay behind for like an after party where everybody goes skinny dipping. And then like the story kind of goes from there, as you'll kind of get from the title, like The Swing of Things. This wasn't really what I expected. I thought this was going to be kind of like a fun, domestic, like, well, not really a contemporary, but kind of like drama. And it was kind of boring. It's full of a lot of sex. Like, so if you go into this, know that there's a lot of sex in it. And it wasn't bad, but it was just kind of like, let's get to the point. Like, okay, yeah, you guys are now swingers. Yeah, cool. Okay, like, are we going to get to the good stuff? And it wasn't until the last third when all the good stuff happened, and then it turns into, like, quickly turns into psychological thriller, and then it ends, like, really fast. And it was just kind of, eh. Like, I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't that great. I recommend if you want to try something new. I got it on Kindle Unlimited, so it was free through Kindle Unlimited, but it wasn't what I was looking for. It was okay. The 4th book that I read in the month of September is What She Gave Away by Catherine Riggs. This was also an ebook that I read on my Kindle. It was also free through Kindle Unlimited, but it's one that I kind of saw around on Goodreads and stuff like that, and was already on my TBR on Goodreads. This is a story that's told in 2 points of views, alternating chapters. You have Kathy and you have Crystal. Crystal is told, like, I think this book takes place in 2016, 2017. So Crystal's takes place in 2015, her storyline, and then Kathy's takes place in 2016. And they're running parallel next to each other. So it's like Crystal in June of 2015 and Kathy in June of 2016. And then they just each move up together as you go on. Their stories are parallel until they intersect at the end. Now this one was kind of marketed as like a psychological thriller, and I think that's totally wrong. I think it was marketed wrong. It was not a psychological thriller. I mean, I guess kinda, but to me it was more of a family drama. Like, it was all about family secrets and all that stuff on both sides, and then when their stories come together, and then Crystal's side and even Kathy's side, like, because Kathy's married to a banker, like, high up, like, CEO banker, and then Crystal is like a loan analyst at a bank. And there was so much of the book that was all like bank financial talk. Like, I was bored. I got really bored. I'm like, okay, I don't want to hear about this. Let's get to the good stuff. Because like Crystal is like, she's very manipulative, and like she plays this game in her head, like when she sees somebody, because Crystal is an overweight. She's a plus size girl like I am. But she really hates herself and hates her body and is not comfortable in her own skin, and she has a really nasty past, and so she just assumes that everybody hates her because of her size. So she likes to play this game, like, especially with skinny pretty people, and she plays this game in her head. She'll look at him and be like, ooh, I wonder what I could do to that person to totally destroy their world, or at least totally destroy their day. Like, you know, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of Jane Doe, only Jane Doe was very more focused. So I was really excited to read it, and I was excited to read a character like that, but it was just so boring. Like, I was so bored that I literally stopped at like page like 150, skipped to the end to read the end because I kind of already predicted what was going to happen, and I was correct. I ended up giving it 2 stars. It just was not what I wanted. Like, it fell into one of those like tropey where, oh, I can see what this twist is a mile away. Oh, I can see where this is going. And I'm just like, it's not fun. Like, it just wasn't fun. And it didn't help that I was slumping really hard after Gone with the Wind. I was lucky I was able to finish God's Grave, and I think that's part of the reason why I slowed down with God's Grave, was because I had slumped so hard after reading Gone with the Wind and finishing it. Like, it was the relief of finishing a big book, and then it was so good and I loved it that I just slumped hard. Like, book hangover slump hard. And the last book that I read in the month of September is called A Simple Favor by Darcy Bell. Like, I know this is, and I just showed this in my haul, and you probably can't see this that well because my camera's kind of far away. And this is like one of those like literal grocery store paperbacks. And this is the movie tie-in cover, which I do not like, but I hear the movie's pretty good. But it's A Simple Favor is about 2 moms, Stephanie and Emily. And Stephanie is widowed, and she's a single mom now of her son Miles. And then you have Emily, who lives just down the street from her, just down the way, and she's married and has 1 son named Nicky, who is the same age as Miles, Stephanie's son. So they meet at school, and they become fast friends, and they hang out every Friday, and they have sleepovers with their boys, have sleepovers all the time, and they become best friends and all this stuff. Well, Emily very quickly into the book disappears. Nobody knows where she's at, and the story goes from there. And it gets all twisty and all that stuff. The thing with this is, like, I rated it 3 stars. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It was literally, like, if this is even a thing, it was a fluff thriller. Like, I don't know if that's actually a thing, but it was a total fluff thriller. It was one of those thrillers where there's 0 character development, like none. Like, the character development is literally an info dump. Like, you get an info dump, you know, halfway through, like, you get Emily disappears and you get all this, and all of a sudden, boom, you get this info dump about Emily's past, and then, you know, you get this info dump about Stephanie's past. Like, it's just, you know, there's no character development. Like, the characters themselves do not develop as the story progresses. It is just info dump. Here's their backstory. This is why they're doing what they're doing. Now let's move on. And that's fine. Like, and for me, I have to be in the mood for those. Like, if I need a palate cleansing, in the mood for, like, let's hurry up and blaze through this, just to get something read, and it's just kind of, not drivel, but it's just, I don't have to think. I don't have to think. I don't have to guess. Like, I can already see where this is going. I can already see what's happening. And then, you know, about 150 pages in, we get told what's happening and what's going on. Like, we are told right away, this is what's happening. Ta-da! Like, you know, so now you're going to be on both sides of the story. And I could tell. I could tell what was going to happen. It was good. It was fun. It was really fast-paced. I like the way it ended. It kind of wrapped it up a little too nice for my taste, but it's what it is. It's a fluff thriller. It's just something fun you can read really fun and fast, and I got through it, and it was something just so I at least had 5 books this month. Okay guys, that's it. That's my September wrap up. Please comment down below if you have read any of these books. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on them. If you like them, didn't like them, whatever. Please like and subscribe if you like my content. I plan on putting out more videos this month than last month. Now I've kind of gotten into the swing of things. I've got a couple readathons coming up that I'm going to try to participate in. We'll see, fingers crossed. And a couple other things that I kind of have up my sleeve. I kind of have an idea. But yeah, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.